Wow, that's all I can say for this honor. I think that what you can conclude from what President Miller just outlined is that I'm no kid. I've been around here for a bit of time, but it all started right here. It started at Hamline. So President Miller, trustees, distinguished faculty, and most important, 2018 graduates of Hamline University. I'm truly humbled by this distinction, an honorary doctorate in humane letters from Hamline University, again, where I started. So don't worry, I'm not going to be here forever. That's always your concern, and it's a legitimate one. But President Miller has charged me this morning with being profound, provocative, and if you can't do that, be brief. So I don't think I'm going to make 1 and 2, but 3 is a possibility. Again, congratulations to all of you, especially those of you who are first-generation college graduates. Well, I was not a first-generation, close. My brother, Jim Petersen, sitting over here, is a 1963 graduate of Hamline, and I just followed in his footsteps unquestioningly. He had such a good experience here that no doubt Hamline was the place for me as well. But it is hard to believe that it was 50 years ago when I graduated, sitting out here as you are. A lot of things have happened to Hamline. Back then it was basically a liberal arts school, very good one, but liberal arts. Since then we have a school of law, school of business, school of education. All of these buildings around are absolutely a testimonial to the accomplishments of this university over that time frame. However, some things haven't changed. Sports teams. Now, there have been some good successes in the sports teams, but remind me, did you guys play St. Thomas last fall in football? I think there might have been a little bit of a problem there, but don't worry, just because you got beat 84-0. St. Olaf got beat 97-0. So, I mean, there's a bright spot here and there. So those are trivial. Who worries about those kinds of things? But hockey, the women's hockey team here, tremendous, right? Final Four, 3rd in the nation in Division III. That's remarkable, and congratulations for that. Now the hockey program, practicing, playing downtown in the new facility where the Wild plays. That's tremendous. The baseball team playing at CHS Field is an honor as well. Believe it or not, I played a little bit of baseball when I was here in the mid-1960s, and the operative word there is little bit of baseball. I was not the star, needless to say. But people would say, well, that means you played over there at Midway Stadium. Wrong. We played over here on the football field. I guess it's the east end of the football field, then called Norton Field, was where the baseball diamond was configured. It got awkward on Saturday afternoons when there was a track meet because, the left fielder had to go over 3 hurdles to get a fly ball and things of that nature, but it worked out one way or another. So Hamline has had a significant history in the sports world as well. But I'd like to just share a few words with you on a little more of a serious note with regard to the path of my career, not as an example, not as an ideology, but as an example of, in fact, what may happen. And emphasize the word of serendipity. And by that I mean good things that happen to you but are completely unplanned. And I think Hamline, in fact, prepared me for some of this. Now, those of you who are on your phone, go ahead, spend the next few minutes on your phone, because I'm going to come back and ask you in about 5 minutes, is it Laurel or Yanni? I can't figure it out, but you can tell me a little bit later. So, back when I was here as a junior, one of my classmates who was a bit more advanced than I, he was married, had a child, I couldn't even get a date. He told me, he said, you're looking for a job this summer between our junior and senior year because there's a place out north of here in Roseville, that time Honeywell Incorporated was out there, And Honeywell's Systems and Research Division was hiring summer students out there. And I said, sure. I was a psychology major. That sounds like a good opportunity. Serendipity, very much a big factor in what happened to me subsequently, because I learned out there that what I was doing here, doing some research and writing term papers and the like, could be done in an industrial commercial setting as a job. Honeywell was writing contracts to the federal government, Department of Defense, and being very successful at that. So that was about the time also, if you remember in your history books, of the Vietnam War, late 60s. And Honeywell was very much involved in these types of efforts. So when I graduated from Hamline, I wanted to go to graduate school in psychology, as President Miller said, and I did go to the University of Minnesota, so I enrolled at the University of Minnesota, but Honeywell also offered me a full-time job to work in their human factors division. This is man-person in the man-machine environment. So psychology, physiology, all the people working out there were PhDs in these various areas. So this was a very rewarding experience for me. I went to the University of Minnesota. But shortly thereafter, I realized that the Vietnam War cranking up meant I had to do something along that line. So the folks I was working with at that time kept their eyes and ears open for me. And they found a program in the Army called Graduate Student Program in Experimental Psychology. And they said, gee, that sounds like you. I applied and was accepted. That allowed me to finish 3 years at the University of Minnesota to get a PhD. But then I had to go into a military laboratory. That's okay. So I went into a military laboratory. They assigned me to one in Maryland. I was hoping it was going to be at a place called Aberdeen Proving Ground, where in fact the Human Factors Laboratory was for the Army. Perfect. I could go there and get a job afterwards. Army being the Army, they missed by about 10 miles. They sent me down the road to a place called Edgewood Arsenal in Maryland, which was the home of the Army's biomedical research laboratory. I had no background in medicine, I had no background in biomedical research, but that's where I was plunked. So I had to take what I had done at Hamline, done at the University of Minnesota, and apply it to a biomedical situation. Turns out we did a lot of research on drugs and chemicals and memory and things like that, which turned out to be very, very informative and useful for my career, such that the guys I was working with said, if you really like doing that, you know, you're going to need to go to school. You got to become a physician. I said, really? At this point in time? So anyway, that's the path I took. But the major accomplishment of my being in the Army laboratory was that's where I met my wife, Diane, who's from Maryland. She's never forgiven me for bringing her to Minnesota some 40 years ago, but in fact that is the case. So I ended up then going to the Army laboratory, did a lot of very interesting research, applied to medical school at the Mayo Clinic back here in Minnesota, was accepted, and in fact entered medical school. So I did 4 years at medical school. After all that other stuff, did 4 years of medical school, internship at Stanford, residency at the Mayo Clinic in neurology, fellowship at Harvard. So I was 40 when I got my first job. My dad was thrilled. He said that's a, and so my son, Matthew, who's here, said, you know, that's maybe a message you should convey, that it's okay to not get your first job until you're 40 and live with your parents. It's okay, just that I'm sure they won't mind with that. So I think that is an opportunity. But it just shows you how, if I would have said to anybody, myself or anybody back here in 1964, when I was a freshman walking on this campus, this is the course, the life course that's going to play out for you, impossible. I couldn't even imagine that type of eventual set of experiences. So the point being, Hamline has done a superb job in preparing you for those unexpected events that occur throughout life, and I think you're going to do quite well, but be prepared for them. So, those of you on your phone, is it Laurel or Yanni? Laurel? Yanni? I think Laurel is winning these days, but I'm not sure. So now, in honoring the be brief part, I am going to close, and I've already cleared this with Bishop O that I know some of you may better things to do, get out of here, go do a bunch of things, and celebrate afterwards. So I would suggest that perhaps a refreshment of your choice might be on the docket for later today. How about I'll buy the first round, and we all meet down at the Wild Onion. Too soon? I got some inside information from a mole in your group, and I said I would not mention Alex Beauvais' name, so I won't disclose that because that's sort of confidential information. But seriously, let me close and thank everybody in the Hamline community for this honor. And really, again, I acknowledge my wife, Diane, my brother, Jim, children, Lindsay, Norgard, and her husband, Matt, our son, Matt Petersen, his wife, Rachel, because they really have put up with me all these years. So, best of wishes, and thanks a lot.